I want you to imagine a specific kind of silence. It's likely a silence you've met before, probably late at night, when the rest of the world has settled into the rhythmic breathing of sleep. You are sitting in the pale, blue glow of a monitor, or perhaps staring at a notebook filled with crossed out lines. You have been working on a single problem for hours, a strategic not in your business, a creative block in your writing, or a decision in your personal life that feels like a zero-sum game. You have done everything, right? You've gathered the data, mapped the logical outcomes, and applied every analytical framework in your repertoire. You have focused your mind until it hurts, and yet you are hitting a wall. It is a visceral, heavy sensation, a mental burnout that feels less like being tired and more like being a machine whose gears have finally stripped their teeth. In that moment, your laptop feels hot against your legs. The hum of the room becomes deafening, and a cold realization begins to settle in. No amount of thinking harder is going to fix this. We are told by our culture that the solution to this wall is more systematic thinking, more logic, more productivity. We are told to run faster on the treadmill. But what if the wall you've hit isn't a sign of your failure? What if it's a sign of the inherent limits of logic itself? This strategic exhaustion is trying to tell you something profound. You have reached the edge of what William Byers calls flashlight consciousness, and the harder you shine that beam, the more it blinds you to the very path you're searching for. I used to think my value was found in how fast I could process information, how smart a machine I could be, but I was wrong. And if you ever felt that robotic hollow in your chest after a day of optimizing your life, you know exactly what I mean. I want to ask you a question that might feel uncomfortable. Is your intelligence actually any different from the software on your phone? Or have you just become a very expensive, very stressed out algorithm? If we cannot define the qualitative difference between our minds and a computer, we are destined to be replaced by them. But there is a difference, a deep biological and philosophical gap, and it is found in the one big idea of William Byers' work, deep thinking. It is a way of using the mind that is radically different from the rule-based logic we were taught in school. It is the only way to step off the treadmill and actually see the room you are standing in. To understand why we feel so robotic, we have to look at the myth we've been sold, the myth of the computer mind. We have been conditioned to believe that our brains are essentially organic hard drives and our thoughts are just data processing. This metaphor is the primary obstacle to your own creativity. As Byers points out in his preface, there is a qualitative difference between machines smart and people smart. A driverless car is smart because it has massive computing power and analytics, but it lives entirely within a simulation. It is secondary. Human intelligence, however, is a primary phenomenon. We are the ones who create the simulation in the first place. When you look at a spreadsheet, the machine sees data points. You see a story, a risk, or a hope. The machine works inside the system, but you have the unique, irreducibly human ability to create, deconstruct, and transcend the system itself. Deep thinking is the process that creates the model before the first line of code is ever written. The danger of our current era is that big data and analytics are redefining what it means to be human. We are being trained to see ourselves as data and our learning as mere data analysis. This is why you feel robotic. You've been told that deep thinking is just thinking harder, like a processor overclocking. But Byers argues that simulation is not reality. A simulation, no matter how brilliant, is a secondary phenomenon. If you rely solely on the flashlight of analytic thought, you are forever trapped within the models other people have built. You aren't thinking. You're just calculating. The solution isn't to compute more. It's to think deeper. It's to move from being a user of systems to a creator of them. This brings us to the core of this philosophy, the transition between what Byers calls conceptual systems, or CS1 and CS2. This might sound academic, but it is a secret to every eureka moment you have ever had. To understand it, we have to go back to when your mind was at its most plastic. Think back to being a child first learning about numbers. You started with counting numbers, 1, 2, 3. This was your first conceptual system, your CS1. In that world, everything was discrete. You could add, you could subtract, and you could count your toys. It was a world of multitude, as Aristotle called it. If I asked you then how many numbers were between 1 and 2, you would have looked at me like I was crazy. The answer was none. That was a fact of your reality. But then you were introduced to fractions. To a child, a fraction is not just a new kind of math. It is a nightmare. It is what Byers calls an unbridgeable chasm. You see, a fraction like 2/3 isn't just a problem to solve. It represents a clash between two worlds, the discrete world of how many multitude and the continuous world of how much magnitude. A child in CS1 tries to use their counting logic to solve fractions, and it fails every time. They try to shine their flashlight brighter, but they can't find the answer because the answer doesn't exist in that system. The breakthrough happens only when the child makes a leap. They have to realize that 2/3 isn't a relationship between two numbers. It is a new kind of object entirely. This is a process called reification. Turning a process into an object, we take a complex set of actions and we clump them into a single mental unit. This clumping is what allows human beings to handle immense complexity that would crash a computer. We do this as adults too, though we often forget the magic of it. Take the shift from saving money to investing. To a saver living in CS1, money is a static pile. It's a chore. You put $1 in, you have $1. The logic is linear. But when you move to the conceptual system of an investor, CS2, money undergoes reification. It becomes a tool or capital. You stop seeing the individual dollars and start seeing compound interest as a living object. You are no longer just doing the work of saving. You are managing a system. This jump isn't a smooth, logical slope. You can't get the mindset of an investor just by saving faster or harder. You have to undergo a paradigm change. You have to be willing to let your old world break down so a new, more complex one can be born. This is why these leaps are so difficult. Logic stays within the system. Deep thinking is what happens in the void between systems. It is a productive ambiguity of standing in the middle of that chasm, holding on to the old while reaching for the new, and waiting for a moment when the pieces finally clump. If this feels like a struggle, it's because it is biologically designed to be one. To understand why we resist this so much, we have to look at the strategic importance of our brain's hemispheres. We often hear pop psychology about being left-brained or right-brained, but Byers, drawing on the work of Alison Gopnik and Ian McGilchrist, shows us something much more haunting. Our left hemisphere is the master of flashlight consciousness. It is focused, narrow, and excellent at manipulating things we already know. It loves expected. It is the realm of the algorithm, but it has a terrifying dark side. It is a chronic rationalizer. There is a neurological condition called anosognosia, where a patient might have a completely paralyzed left arm due to a right hemisphere stroke. When you ask the patient if they can move their arm, they will say yes. When you ask them to clap and they cannot, the left hemisphere will instantly invent a story. Oh, my shoulder is a bit sore today. Or, I didn't really feel like clapping. The left hemisphere would rather lie to you than admit its model of the world is broken. Now, think about your own life. Think about the time anxiety you feel or that nagging pressure to succeed. Your logic, your left hemisphere, tells you that you should be happy. You have the job, the house. The data says you are winning. But your intuition, your right hemisphere, says something is missing. Your left brain will spend years rationalizing your misery, telling you it's just a busy season or everyone feels this way. It denies the discrepancy because it cannot see outside its own flashlight beam. The right hemisphere, however, is the devil's advocate. It operates in lantern consciousness, a wide, vigilant, unfocused awareness. It sees things in their context as whole gestalts. It watches for the discrepancies the left brain ignores. Creativity is not a left brain skill. It is a union of things maintained separately. Deep thinking requires us to move the problem from the left to the right. We have to stop the effort to produce, because that effort is a left brain trap. Have you ever noticed that your best ideas come in the shower, or while walking, or just as you're falling asleep? That is the moment when the left brain finally tires out and lets go of its narrow focus. In that silence, the immaterial wind of change, as the poet Pasternak called it, can finally be felt. The cessation of effort is not laziness. It is a strategic requirement for the right brain to provide a new frame. You cannot force a new paradigm. You can only create the silence necessary for it to emerge. So, how do we practically navigate this? How do we live in the dissonance without losing our minds? The first takeaway is to realize that deep thinking is actually your natural default condition. It isn't a skill you need to manufacture. It's a state you need to stop inhibiting. You have to learn the art of holding two contradictory ideas in the mind without flinching. When you are confused, do not panic. In our culture, confusion is treated as a failure of intelligence. But in the world of deep thinking, confusion is the doorstep of a new paradigm. It is a sign that your CS1 is breaking down, which is the absolute prerequisite for CS2 to arrive. Byers points to a concept called Quinian bootstrapping. Imagine you are climbing a ladder. The ladder represents the rote learning, the logic, and the systematic steps you've taken. To a computer, the ladder is the whole world. But to a human, the ladder is just a means to get to the roof. Eventually, you reach the top rung, and to get to that higher level, the new conceptual system, you have to do something the machine never will. You have to take one more step into the unknown. You have to step off the ladder. This is terrifying. It feels like falling. In a career change, it's that moment between leaving the safety of the old title and finding the rhythm of the new calling. In a relationship, it's the moment you stop using old scripts and start speaking a new, vulnerable language. You are in the incommensurable void. But that impossible step is where human creativity lives. This is your ultimate competitive advantage in an automated world. As AI masters a flashlight of logic, mastering the ladder better than we ever could, our value shifts. AI can climb the rungs of CS1 forever, but it can never experience the eureka moment of jumping to CS2. It cannot experience the clumping of reification because it does not feel the tension of the chasm. If you cannot do what the machine cannot, if you cannot leap, you are merely a legacy system waiting to be phased out. We must also embrace the reality of incompleteness. The great mathematician Kurt Gödel proved that no logical system can be both consistent and complete. There will always be truths that the system cannot prove. This means that every wall you hit is actually an invitation. It is proof that your current system is incomplete. Deep thinking is the act of stepping outside the system to find the truths that the logic missed. As we bring these reflections together, I want to leave you with the one big idea that ties all of this to your own potential. Byers suggests that human creativity is the goose that lays the golden eggs for all technology and progress. We have become so in love with the golden eggs, the gadgets, the algorithms, the sleek simulations, that we have forgotten to take care of the goose. We have started to treat ourselves like the machines we've created, demanding constant, linear, logical output. We have started to prune our lantern awareness to serve the flashlight of the economy. But your value does not come from being a machine. Your value comes from your unmachine-like qualities, your ability to feel stuck, your capacity to see ambiguity, and your sensitivity to the immaterial wind of change. These are not bugs in your system. They are the features that make you a deep thinker. They are the reasons you can innovate where an algorithm can only iterate. When you hit that wall at 11 o'clock at night, and you feel the stripped gears of your logic, I want you to try something radical. Stop. Close the laptop. Walk away from the ladder. Remember that the wall is not the end of the road. It is the edge of your current conceptual system. It is an invitation to turn off the flashlight, light the lantern, and wait. True progress in this life almost always beats perfection, and true progress comes from the leaps we take when logic runs out. You are not a processor. You are a biological engine of transformation. Trust the difficulty. Trust the silence. And most of all, trust that your mind already knows how to find its way into the deep.